Hello, everyone. This is Matt, otherwise known as the Passionate Announcer. Just to refresh your memory. Passionate Announcer! Yes! Okay. Just making sure you know. But I just wanted to actually post a nice, calm, collected video of my video game collection. I don't have the collection I once did. I used to have over 500 plus games. Now I'm down to probably 150 or so. So I've sold or donated a lot of them over the years, but just wanted to share some of my favorite games, memories, all that good stuff. It's just a very simple video. Nothing crazy here, nothing too passionate anyway, although I am passionate about video games. But without further ado, let's jump right in and have some fun. Let's get this light going here. One of the first things you're going to notice is I love the NES. If it has 8 bits, it's just right by me. I grew up with the Atari and the Intellivision, but the NES was where I really took off as a video game fan. And I followed the NES pretty much throughout the mid-80s and 90s until the NES went under. Well, not really went under, but they stopped making games after Wario's Woods in December of '94. Still remember the month and everything, the year. But the first game on here is Adventure Island 3, which is a fairly tough game to find, actually. The third game's probably the rarest of the three due to its late release date. I think it came out in '92, I want to say, sometime in '92, which was late by NES standards. But fun game. I mean, it was really fun. It was the first game in this series is probably one of the hardest games I've ever played. Second and third were more reasonable because you could actually use a weapon. The first game, you literally, if you lost any lives, you'd have to essentially get through a level without dying, without hitting anything, and no weapon. No weapon. I mean, it was just ridiculous. I don't know what they were thinking, but at least they rectified it with the sequels. Speaking of hard, this, ladies and gentlemen, is the hardest video game I have ever played. Battletoads. This game is just a legend. It's a legendary game. The funny thing is that it's actually a really good game. It's a really fun game, but it is insanely difficult. I've managed to actually beat this game 3 times in my lifetime, I believe. Twice without using any secrets like warp zones or that 5-man code you can use. So, good old Battletoads. Tough as nails, but boy, at least it's fun. The sequel, which a lot of people never played because of its late release date for the NES, was Battletoads Double Dragon. And I gotta say, this is a really good game. If you haven't played it, it's still really tough, but it's reasonable in terms of its difficulty. It even has a stage that seems almost like an apology for the turbo tunnel of the first game. It is so easy, it's not even funny. That's that particular level. But a really good game, for sure. Bionic Commando is a good one. Another one of the good early Capcom releases. Blades of Steel, probably the first hockey experience of any kind I had playing that game. Blaster Master, I have so many fond memories of this game. Anyone who knows me knows how much I just love this game. Thank you, Wesley. Wesley introduced me to this game, one of my good friends. I still remember us playing it for the first time. So many memories playing this one. Funny, I actually have a streak going right now, and no one's probably going to believe this, but I have beaten this game 3 times in a row with 1 life. Granted, I'll be fair here, I had to use the grenade trick against the 6th and 7th bosses because of just how difficult and even broken the boss battles are, especially with 6 because of slowdown. But good old Blaster Master, I'll have to videotape that one of these days. Or not videotape. Yeah, see, I'm in the 80s right now. I'm talking about videotapes. I'll have to take a video of me playing that one. Bubble Bobble. Wonderful game. Very nostalgic. I actually got that for Christmas one year. And pretty special. Bubble Bobble 2, just to let you know, don't pass out or anything, this is a reproduction. You know, I got a custom case that you can get. You can get these custom cases if you don't want to spend hundreds of dollars on cardboard, which is what boxes are. But this is indeed, looks good and everything, but it is a reproduction. So I did have the original game at one time, and I actually sold it to make some money for my wife's engagement ring. fun fact. It was kind of cool being able to get the reproduction years later for pennies on the dollar. Boy, you want a challenge? Play this. Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse. It's one of I believe I only own 2 games in the Castlevania series, despite how amazing this series is. The other one, of course, being, you'll see. You'll see later. I gotta have a teaser, right? Dracula's Curse. This was a really good game. Super hard. Super hard. Probably one of the top 10 toughest games for the NES, possibly. At least top 10 good NES games that are difficult. There's plenty of crappy ones that are difficult because of their bad coding or controls or whatever. Rescue Rangers. I'm looking at Contra. Rescue Rangers is a classic. That was a fun game. Probably better than the cartoon. Cartoon was good. Game was really good. Contra. Right here, you probably saw my wall scroll. I got a wall scroll for Contra. There you go. I just picked that up the other day, actually. I could not resist. It's just got really good box art. Just dark and gritty, Sometimes can't beat that. But good old Contra, man. You're just fighting aliens, trying to save the human race. Nothing mild-mannered about this game. Great game, too. Crystalis, kind of a funny story with Crystalis. This is a game, and it was the only game I recall playing at the 1990 Nintendo Power Fest. I actually went to the Power Fest with friends, and one of my friends, Todd, and family. Great experience. I actually participated in the Nintendo World Championships, and if I had just been better at Tetris, I could have probably made some noise there. Maybe had one of those ultra rare Nintendo World Championships cards. I don't have that, obviously, but Crystalis was one of the games that there wasn't a big line for it, so I got to play it. And really good game. It's one of those underrated games. I wouldn't say it's like the best game ever made or anything, but it's pretty special. Darkwing Duck is a good one. Another good Capcom game. Very Mega Man-like. Double Dragon 2, of course, is known by most as the best in the series. Hard to argue that. Although I will say, I may be one of the few people who thinks that Double Dragon 3 was actually a really good game. And I know a lot of people hate this game. You have one life, essentially. Although if you get a few extra characters on your way, essentially you have more than that, like 2 or 3 lives. But if you take the time to really learn the nuances of the gameplay in Double Dragon 3, it's a really good game. It's a really fun game. But I understand it's a tough one. One of those games you have to kind of get over the hump, get past the first stage or 2 to really open things up, to get the characters you need to survive. And look at this. I actually forgot to mention this one. Batman. Sunsoft. You see this name on a game cartridge, chances are it's a really good game, and or the music's really, really good. Sunsoft just knew how to get the most out of the NES. And Batman, one of the few movie licensed games that actually was really good. I know it's hard for many people to believe because of how bad they are today, but Batman is a good one. It's a really good game. And I need my flashlight to come down here so we can see. Dragon Warrior 4, otherwise known as Dragon Quest, but back in the day we called it Dragon Warrior. I don't know why they didn't just, what's the difference really between Quest and Warrior, but I guess they had a reason. It's the only Dragon Warrior game I own for the NES. I used to have them all, and now I only have 4. It's just with the box and the manual, everything too, which is pretty cool. This is one of my favorite NES games, and it's got to be the best RPG for the console. It was way ahead of its time with the story, the quest, the chapter system. I mean, it was just really good. DuckTales is a great one. I think everyone remembers that game because of, well, the gameplay was really good, but the music. Moon Stage, anyone? The Moon was amazing. And yes, I did happen to get this as a kid. DuckTales 2 for the NES. Very rare and hard to find. I was debating, should I get this game or Kirby's Adventure? This was 1993. And I am glad I chose this one because I was able to get Kirby a couple years later. And this game is nearly impossible to find because of its late release date. Really good. I don't think it's as good as the original DuckTales game, but it's still a really good game. Capcom really knew what they were doing back in the NES era. This is kind of a family favorite. A lot of people probably haven't heard of this game, or they just bypassed it. I mean, it looks like another softball game, but Dusty Diamond's All-Star Softball is a really good game, guys. It's just got the gameplay, the depth is surprisingly good, and it's funny. It's a funny game. There's some characters. There's a witch that uses a broom. There's like the devil uses a mace. There's I think there's a guy that uses a pickaxe as a bat. I mean, it's a hilarious game, and it's really fun. I think that guy's safe at home. I think he was safe by quite a bit, but good game though. I got that game for $1 at a yard sale, by the way. I know today it's hard to find. So Felix the Cat. Felix the Cat's another one of those kind of unheralded games. Hudson Soft made it, and it's probably the easiest game Hudson Soft ever made, because they made some tough games, such as Adventure Island, Myland's Secret Castle. I guess you can say Bomberman probably wasn't too hard, but Felix the Cat, it's a rare game. It's hard to find, but it's a really good one if you stumble across it. And this one here is kind of polarizing. I don't understand. I guess I kind of understand why everyone's so negative about it. Fester's Quest. And I can see my sister right now. She's probably shaking her head. I literally beat this game the minute she was born. Like literally. I played the game. I've rented it a few times, played it for weeks. And the day my sister was born, it was just a minute after I beat the final boss, I get a phone call. And it's my dad saying, "You have a sister." And the funny thing is that she shakes her head every time. She's like, "Why did you have to beat this game on my birthday?" You know? But needless to say, I actually think it's a fun game. The music's outstanding. I think most people can agree that. Yeah, once again, Sunsoft. The music was really good. But if you can just take your time, if you can learn to master the techniques of the game, mastering your gun, your whip, see that screenshot with the whip, that's how you navigate the tight areas that a lot of people have a tough time navigating because they don't have the whip yet. It's a tough game. You have 2 bars of health, so I get the negative criticism, but I actually think it's a really good game. I'm not saying all-time classic, but... And this is another one in that category. Flintstones was a good one. This is a reproduction, by the way, just to let you know. It's a reproduction. It's not the original game. Original game is one of the rarest, probably top 5 to 10 rarest games for the NES. Maybe it's even higher. I know this and Little Samson are both kind of in that impossible to find category. It was a rental exclusive. So, still pretty cool, right? You see that box art and everything? The game looks fantastic despite not being the original. Gumshoe, a lot of good memories playing this one. Probably the best Zapper game for the NES, at least in my opinion. And I've got a few of them. Gyrus, another really good game. I know I'm kind of taking my time here, but you know what? Why not? This is a really underrated game. See the Ultra Games label at the bottom? Ultra was actually a subsidiary of Konami. It was back when you could only make a certain amount of games. Like every company, every licensee could only make X amount of games. And Konami said, well, screw that. We're just going to create Ultra Games and make more than we're allowed. Really good game. It feels like a Konami game too. So don't be fooled by the Ultra Games label. It's Konami. Hogan's Alley, fun one. Used to play that with my grandparents all the time. And Gumshoe, actually. Some of these old black box games we played together a lot. Jackal. My friend Wesley, I remember him and his brother and I playing this game. And Wes, I still have the old game, buddy. You know, didn't have the box. Some of these games I accumulated boxes over the years and boxes, manuals, just to complete them. A lot of good memories with this one. This is a really good game too. And if you're looking for kind of under the radar games, these next two kind of fit that category well. Jackie Chan's Action Kung Fu is actually a really fun game. Once you learn some of the gameplay nuances, such as using your special moves, music's really good too. Really good music in that one. Jetsons is just nostalgic. You know, I'm not going to tell you it's a great game because it's probably more on the average side, but it's still, there's something about it. I think it's just the fact I grew up playing it. You know, like I said, I rented NES games to the end, man. I mean, when everybody else was on the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis bandwagon, I was still plugging away at the old NES. And Maybe it's a good thing I actually have some of these hard-to-find games. Whereas Fester's Quest, you might recall, I played that game the day my sister was born. This is the game I was playing the day my brother was born. What else can you do, right? You're the kid. You can't really do much to help your parents out. So it's like, well, let's just play a game while the time passes. But Kirby's Adventure, great game too. That's one of the classics, I would say, for the NES. Very playable. Great gameplay. Kiko Kabuko was a fun game. I used to rent as a kid all the time. I used to rent from our local marsh, actually. And this game I actually just picked up the other day. I love the box art for this game. I think it's just an 80s thing. It's pretty wild looking box art, isn't it? Crazy creatures. Got the pink. This is a very simple game. It's not really one of those games that requires a whole lot of thought. It's like a puzzler. You're trying to line up creatures, animals, you name it. Teeth. See those teeth in there? It's a really fun game, though. It's probably, I would say it's the best unlicensed game that I've ever played. I know that's not saying a whole lot, but most unlicensed games were almost unplayable, some of them. But Crazy Creatures, give that one a try if you ever happen across it. A Life Force, an all-time favorite of mine. I absolutely loved playing this game in Contra with my friend John. And with many other friends, too. Friends and family. But good old Life Force. And some of the box art in these Konami games. You just don't see box art like this anymore. It's just pretty cool stuff. Little Nemo. Yeah, I could go on and on about these games. I know I'm already probably doing that to some extent. But you have to understand, these are my favorite games. I haven't kept anything I really didn't enjoy a heck of a lot. So, Little Nemo, a lot of great memories playing this game. Very nostalgic, and it was a really good game. And Marble Madness is a fun one. I just took a video of me actually playing that game, which I hope to post shortly, before or after this video. I haven't decided on that yet. But Mega Man 2 and 3, guys, these are two of the greatest games of all time. Mega Man 2 was the first game I ever played in the series. And to this day, I can't decide between 2 and 3 which one I enjoy more. They're both so nostalgic and so good. And in case you're wondering, I do not have Mega Man 1. That's the one I don't have. I do have that, I believe, on the Wii Virtual Console. No, that doesn't count for much, but I just didn't want to pay $100 for the cartridge. It's just too much for a game that, I thought Mega Man 1 was good, but, 2 and 3... 5 was really good too. That game, I remember getting that game for Christmas. 4 and 6 are good, but I would say 2, 3, and 5 are probably my favorite 3. And they're all good, yeah. 1 was tough, by the way. 1 was brutally tough. I did manage to beat that game, but boy, it's unforgiving, to say the least. Metroid, of course, is a classic. A lot of good memories there. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. This is not the Punch-Out with Mr. Dream, everyone. This is the real shebang here, the real game. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. And boy, I tell you, he was tough. One of the toughest battles or boss fights, whatever you want to call it, was facing Mr. Tyson, Mike Tyson. Here's another real, kind of a cult classic, if you will. It's a game a lot of people bypassed, probably. But Monster Party was a really fun game. Really well done. It had a wacky sense of humor that was somewhat endearing. It just was, there was something really fun about it. It's a scream. Really good game. I've got a lot of good things I could say about this one. But moving on, we got Ninja Gaiden. I do have, first two are here. That is the original box, by the way. It's one of those where for some reason they cut the box out and put it in a case, which always annoyed the heck out of me. But Ninja Gaiden 3, I also have that one. In Ninja Gaiden 3, I always felt like the Ancient Ship of Doom got a bad rap. I say that just because a lot of people talk about 1 being really good, 2 being probably the best in the series, and then you got the Ancient Ship of Doom. Granted, the story's a little wacky. You don't have the Jackie-O or Ishtar, who were amazing in 1 and 2. And the play controls a little floaty. It took some getting used to. But personally, I really enjoyed this game. Although I can't tell you which game in the Ninja Gaiden series is my favorite. That would be actually a decent discussion. Which Ninja Gaiden's the best? Because they all have different strengths and weaknesses. One has that brutal stage 6-2. 2 I thought was too easy, actually. And then 3, you got the controls and whatnot. But they all had some really good gameplay, I thought. Got some games I got to move here. Rad Racer is actually the oldest NES game I have for my personal collection. I stupidly sold my Mario Duck Hunt years ago. I reaccumulated it, as you can see here. See how I got it back. But that and Excite Bike were 2 games I sold stupidly, like I said. But both of them I own now. Excite Bike I have on my DS, actually. Roller games, other than the fact it's a very obscure NES game, and not to toot my own horn, but I have beaten over 500 video games. But roller games was actually my 100th game that I beat, way back in 1995. I know, you're saying, of all the games to be your 100th game, it's roller games? Seriously, though, it was a fun game. And once again, it's Ultra who made that game, so, essentially it was Konami in disguise, I guess. But roller games, good game, challenging. Very 80s, very 80s. It's one of those games that's dated, but in a retro, kind of cool sort of way. Snake, Rattle, and Roll. This game, ladies and gentlemen, this is the one NES game I own that I have never beaten. This one here. And the reason, I think, is because Rare made it. Good old Rare, who also made Battletoads. Rare, before they made Donkey Kong Country, a beatable game. They made a lot of unbeatable games, like this one. Cobra Triangle. Cobra Triangle was a tough one, too. I have made it to the last boss in this game. I've made it to the last boss. It's an ice foot that jumps around on this moon level that has odd gravity. See how, I don't know if it says here in the box, it's a race to the moon. Well, that's literal, because you end the game in the moon on it. But I've made it to the last boss, have not been able to defeat the last boss, unfortunately. What can you do, right? Except keep trying. Might as well take a video one day and see if I can beat that. This right here, this is kind of a prize, one of my prized possessions, I guess you could say. The Snow Brothers, great game. Just a wonderful 2-player co-op game. It's one of those games that you could just fire up with a friend. My brother and sister and I played this game a lot when they were younger. We still play it. But it's just a really enjoyable game, and for some reason, I don't know why, it is almost impossible to find. It is extremely rare, despite the Capcom label. And the fact it's a decent game. I don't know why. Maybe distribution was just low for it or what, but yeah, Snow Brothers, special game right there. Star Tropics, both of those are a lot of fun. Super Contra is really good. And I would vouch to say that it might be better than the original. Personally, I like both a lot. I think when I reviewed them on my website, I had them within just a couple tenths of a point. But I'm just trying to move these over a little. I do have Super Mario 2. And to let you know, yes, I have 1 and 3. Got them right there. Mario 1 and 3. Stinger, special game right there. This is a game that my cousin Mike actually bought when we were kids. And as you can see, I'm still a kid. But Stinger, Konami game, it's actually Twin B in Japan. I didn't know that until years later. Just a really fun game. Really retro. It's one of those games that just brings back all those memories of the 80s. Playing games with friends. Just the whole culture and the atmosphere of the time. And like all these games do. But Stinger, there was something really special about it. I guess it's just a really sentimental game in my library of games. But moving on, Super Spy Hunter. This one here, of all the games in my game collection, I guess there's probably a few that fit the bill. Give me a sec here. Super Spy Hunter is a really good game. It's a Sunsoft game. It's the sequel to the original arcade classic, which everyone knows about. Everyone's heard of Spy Hunter, but Super Spy Hunter, for some reason, maybe it was its release date, I mean, the box art seems good enough, right? If you saw this game in the store, you'd say, wow, it looks pretty cool. I don't know. For some reason, it's just under the radar. It's never got the appreciation it deserved. I might have to take a video of that one, since it's never really got its due. But it's a really good game. Don't be fooled if you've never heard of it. It's way better than the original, I think, unless you just love the arcade version. Tecmo Super Bowl. This right here is the best sports game I've ever played. I know the Maddens are great. I know there's a lot of newer sports games that blow this game away in terms of graphics, music, sound, everything. But I just love this game. I loved everything about it. I guess it's just one of those things, you grow up with something and you just stick with it. When I saw those Bo Jackson commercials recently, that was pretty cool. To see Tecmo Super Bowl in the commercial, that was way cool. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, love them all. Love the trilogy, even the first one. I know a lot of people didn't like the first one. I love the challenge. I respect the game that's super challenging, but it's still a good game. Like Battletoads, I think fits the bill there. I think Turtles is another one. Castlevania, super hard, but at least you understand. When you lose, you understand what happened. You understand why. And that's just something I like with games. I guess Ninja Gaiden's the same way. I'll play a hard game, just don't, make it fair. I guess that's why I've never really delved into Ghosts and Goblins much. I probably should. I know it's one of the harder games, but it's pretty cheap. And these are cheap too, but I don't know. Trog is a good one. That's an arcade, kind of an arcadey game. Probably one of those games most of you haven't heard of. You're dinosaurs and you're trying to survive these cavemen who are trying to eat you. And just a fun arcade game. It's a good multiplayer game for sure. And which brings us to this game. Believe it or not, I know, you're looking right there, that is the LJN Rainbow of Death. But here's the thing. LJN actually made one good video game. Now, to be fair, everything else they made was total and utter crap. Utter crap. Anyone who's played Total Recall or Back to the Future or any of these other games they made. But Thriller Safari was really fun. The gameplay was decent. It was just wacky. It was totally 90s. Early 90s. You could even say there was a lot of 80s in there for sure. I mean, look at the box art, right? Look at this box art. But Thriller Safari, if you ever play an LJN game, just play this. Don't touch anything else, though. You've been warned. And you got Wrecking Crew. One of my favorite black box games, for sure. I actually figured out the golden axe trick in this game without looking up a guide or anything. And don't ask me how I found it. It was, I was just playing the game. I randomly got the axe. And if anyone doesn't know what the golden axe is, just search Wrecking Crew Golden Axe. And you'll find out. It's a really cool early trick, early in the game. Allows you to get this ultra-destructive axe. Yo Noid, once again, this is proof. Capcom used to be great, guys. They used to be great. Back in the NES era, the late 80s, early 90s, they just couldn't do a whole lot wrong. I mean, they made a good game with the Domino's Pizza mascot. How did that happen? And of course, all their Disney games were good, really good, if not great. So that's the NES collection. I'll just keep moving right along here. I know this video is going to be a long one, but who knows? I might end up having to split this into two. We'll see.